combination of capacitors, that is, when the two capacitors are arranged in series combination, what is going to happen to the effective capacitance, and what happens when the two capacitors are connected in parallel combination. So let us start with the series combination. So as you can see here, in the series combination, we have the two capacitors being connected end to end. That is, I have actually, for better understanding, I have marked the plates as A1, A2 for the plates of the parallel plate capacitor C1, and A3 and A4 are the plates of capacitor C2. Now just have a look at it. The A1 plate of the capacitor C1 is connected to the positive terminal of the battery, and the A4 plate of the capacitor C2 is connected to the negative terminal of the battery. So in this case, as you can see here, due to the connectivity of the plate A1 of capacitor C1 with the positive terminal, there is a positive charge which appears on this, and since there is a positive charge appearing on plate A1, A2 becomes negative, and since this becomes negative, the charges have to come from the next plate, that is the A3 plate. So the charges are derived from A3 plate to A2 plate, and hence A3 becomes positive, and since A3 becomes positive, and since A4 is connected to negative plate, the A4 plate is also going to be a negative charge. So you can see here the net charge on each of these capacitors is going to be 0, and each of the plates have the charge of magnitude Q. In some plates, one plate will be having plus Q charge, the other plate of the capacitor will be having minus Q charge, which means the charges stored in each capacitor will have the same amount of magnitude. That is, the same amount of charges are stored on each of the capacitors which are connected in series combination. Now remember one thing, based on the capacitance of the two capacitors, the potential, the applied potential difference across the circuit gets divided into two parts. That is, across C1 the potential drop will be V1, and across C2 the potential drop will be V2, and the two potential drops when added, it will give us the total potential difference applied across the given circuit. So we are going to use the same principle into the actual derivation of the effective capacitance. We already know that capacitance of capacitor C1 will be C1 equals to Q by V1. Remember, the charge Q is going to be the same on both the capacitors. So C1 equals to Q by V1 and C2 is equal to Q by V2. Now I am going to rearrange this equation, these two equations. The first equation becomes V1 equal to Q by C1, and V2 will be equal to Q by C2. And as we already know, it is the potential divider arrangement that we have here. So what happens is, the total potential difference applied, or the total potential which is applied, will be equal to the sum of the two potential drops across the two capacitors. So V will be equal to V1 plus V2. I am going to substitute for V1 and V2. So V1 is Q by C1, V2 is Q by C2. So the total potential difference applied will be equal to Q by C1 plus Q by C2. Now we are going to replace these two, that is the two capacitors in series, with the equivalent capacitor which is going to store the same amount of charges at the same potential difference applied. So for the same potential difference applied, this capacitor will store the same amount of charges as these two capacitors are going to store in them. So this is called as the equivalent capacitor. In the case of equivalent capacitor, we can see that the effective capacitance of this capacitor, or the capacitance of this capacitor, we call it as the effective capacitance. This capacitance will be equal to Q by V, or the potential difference applied, I can write it as Q by C effective. This will be equation number 2. Comparing the two equations, we can see that the left hand sides have the potential difference V, and right hand side will have Q effective, Q by C effective in equation 2, and on this side, in this equation, it is Q by C1 plus Q by C2. So now combining these two equations, we can see that Q by C effective equals to Q by C1 plus Q by C2. From this, we can have this equation in the form 1 by C effective equals to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2. The reason is we can take the Q common over here and cancel it out on both the sides. So now I can extend the same when I have more number of capacitors in series. That is, instead of having only two capacitors, if I have n number of capacitors connected in series, that is, if I have a combination going to be like this. So this is C1, C2, C3, etc. and this is Cn connected in series combination. In such a case, the effective capacitance will be 1 by C effective equals to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3 plus etc. plus 1 by Cn. That is, for n capacitors connected in series, the reciprocal of the effective capacitance will be equal to the sum of the reciprocals of the capacitances of each of these capacitors. So this is about the capacitances in series combination. Okay, so this is about your series combination. Now we will move on to the parallel combination. So now we will go on to the parallel combination of capacitors. In this, we can see that the capacitor plates on one side are both connected to the positive terminal of the battery, and capacitor plates on the other side in both the capacitors are connected to the negative terminal of the battery. So such kind of combination we call it as the parallel combination. As you can see here, these two are parallel branches, and in each of the branches we have one capacitor. So this capacitor I am going to take it as C1, and this is going to be capacitor C2. Now in this case, unlike in the case of your series combination, what happens is the potential drop across both the capacitors remains the same. But however, since the capacitor values, the capacitance values are different, the amount of charges which are stored in both the capacitors will also be different, unlike in case of your series combination. Okay, so here what happens is the amount of charges stored in these two will be equal to the sum of the amount of charges stored in the two capacitors will be equal to the total amount of charges derived from the battery. That is, the total charge Q will be equal to the total charge derived from the battery will be equal to the sum of the charges which are stored in both the capacitance plates, both the capacitors. So here once again we will go with the routine steps. That is, firstly the capacitance C1 is going to be Q1 by V and C2 is equal to Q2 by V. And here, since we are going to deal with in terms of charges, Q1 equals to C1V and Q2 is equal to C2V. Now here the total charge in combination, that is the total charge which is stored in both the capacitors combinedly is equal to Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. Now substituting for Q1 and Q2, we get Q is equal to C1V plus C2V. This is equation number 1. Next, equivalent circuit, that is I am going to take one equivalent circuit here. The total amount of charge stored in this capacitor is Q and the potential difference applied is going to be V. Okay, and the capacitance of the equivalent capacitor is going to be taken as C effective. Okay, so here C effective will be equal to Q by V, or Q is equal to C effective into V. This is equation number 2. Now we can compare these two equations. On comparing the two first and second equations, we can see that C effective into V is equal to C1V plus C2V. So on taking out the common terms and cancelling out, we can see that C effective equals to C1 plus C2. Now remember one thing, in case I have many such branches, n number of branches similar to this. So if I can just go on extending this combination to n number of capacitors connected in parallel. In such a case, the effective capacitance becomes C1 plus C2 plus C3 plus etc. plus C. That is, if I have n number of capacitors connected in parallel combination, the effective capacitance of the combination will be just the sum of the capacitances of all the capacitors connected in parallel combination. So this is about your combination of capacitors, and next we will be going on to the energy stored in the capacitor. We are going to have a look at the electrostatic energy which is stored in the capacitor in the form of the charges. So let's just see what is going to happen while charging a capacitor. Now let's say we have two plates of the capacitor, plate 1 and plate 2. Initially the two plates of the capacitor are uncharged, that is they are going to be neutral. Now I want to build the charges on the capacitor plates. So what we are going to do is, we are going to connect the plate 1 with the positive terminal of the battery and plate 2 with the negative terminal of the battery. Okay, that is, here we have the potential plus V and here we will have the potential minus V, let us say. So there is a potential difference which is applied across the two capacitor plates. So now what we are going to do is, we are actually trying to move the charges from one plate to another plate. That is, basically what we are doing is, externally we are transferring the capacitor, the charges from one plate of the capacitor to another plate of the capacitor. That is, here what we are doing is, we are moving an electron from this plate 1 through the external circuit, and so what is going to happen? The same electron is going to move through the external circuit and it will go to the battery. It will go to a battery, that is the positive terminal of the battery, and from the negative terminal of the battery, the capacitor plate, the second capacitor plate will be pumped with the electron, that is the negative charge. So what happens is, out through the external circuit, we are actually trying to move this electron from the positive plate to the negative plate by applying a potential difference. But during this process, it is as good as saying that one positive charge has been removed from the plate 2 and the same positive charge has been deposited onto the plate 1. So basically what we are doing is against the direction of the field. Now remember one thing, here the potential is, the electric field is from the positive plate towards the negative plate, because the plate 1 is applied with the positive potential and plate 2 is applied with the negative potential. So electric field is in this direction and we are actually trying to move the charge dq, a small unit positive test charge dq. We are going to take it from the plate 2 and we are going to transfer it against the direction of the electric field, and we are going to move it and deposit onto the plate 1. So during this process, some amount of energy is stored, that is in the form of the potential energy, the electrostatic potential energy in the capacitor. So let us find out what is the work done in doing this process. The work done in moving this charge dq from plate 2 to plate 1 is given by dw equals to v dash dq. Here v dash is the potential difference between the two plates of the capacitor. Now from this equation we can see that the total work done, this is only for one small charge moving from a plate 2 to plate 1. Now what if we want to charge the entire capacitor, that is up to its maximum limit we are going to charge the capacitor, so that the total charge on plate 2 is minus q and total charge on the plate 1 is plus capital Q. So once this particular capacitor is completely charged, the charge on the capacitor will be capital Q. So here initially we are sending one by one. The charges are being sent from one plate to another plate in terms of single charges. Once the complete charging is happening, then we can remove the external circuit and you can see that the two plates of the capacitor are charged up to their maximum limit. So this is what we are doing, and in doing this we have to do some work. That work is nothing but a total work done. So the total work done in charging the capacitor is going to be given as W equals to integration over 0 to Q of V dash dQ. Now V dash is nothing but Q by C. That is, we already know the definition of the capacitance. From the definition of capacitance we can give this, that is potential difference V dash equals to Q by C. and now we are going to integrate this by substituting for V dash. So we can see that W equals to integral from 0 to capital Q, small q by C dq. So on integration we get W equals to 1 by C into integral 0 to q dq. The reason is C is a constant, 1 by C I am taking it out. Integration of q dq is q square by 2, and with the limits 0 to q put on the bracket. Now substituting the limits we get W equals to 1 by 2C. We can see that 2 can be taken out, and only for Q I am going to substitute the limits. So small q becomes capital Q when I substitute capital Q, and small q square becomes 0 when I substitute 0 in its place. So ultimately the total work done in charging the capacitor is going to be q square by 2C. Now we already know that Q equals to C equals to Q by V. On substituting for C in this equation, we can see that we can also write the work done as W equals to 1 by 2 into QV, and we can also know that we can write Q is equal to CV. So when I substitute for Q, we get the equation W equals to half CV square. Now remember one thing, the work done in storing the charges is going to be converted into the potential energy which is stored in the capacitor. That is, the potential energy stored is nothing but the work done in moving the charges or the charging the capacitors. Okay, so charging the capacitor, it needs some work done, and that work done is nothing but the potential energy stored in the capacitor plates. So this is about the energy stored in the capacitor plates. Thank you.